is Lucie. I'm a product manager at Countify, and together with me there is Sarah, customer success manager. And welcome everybody at the webinar with the title Countify Best Practices for Product Managers. And let's have a look at what is ahead of us today. So the agenda for this session is to share some short updates from the Countify world about the latest release. And then we are going to jump into 6 practical examples that can help you to enhance your product analytics. For that purpose, we would use a fictional music app, which we called Countify. And it will be like a walkthrough of the crucial features in the platform using this fictional app or data collected from that app. So the targeted audience for this session is are the product managers, but I believe that basically everyone can benefit from the things we are going to be talking about. And we will definitely appreciate all your questions and ideas you would like to share. So there is going to be a Q&A section at the very end. So please, if you have a question throughout the session, don't wait for that question to go away. Just send it to the chat, to a private message to Sarah, and we will get back to that message or to that question at the very end.
Great, so a few short updates of what's new within Countify. So you'll see a few new features and updated features here of the 24.05 release. If you're not sure what version you're on, you can check the bottom left-hand corner of your dashboard within Countify, and it should tell you what version. If you need to update, you can contact your CSM, your customer success manager. Hopefully you've seen the updates about this within the newsletter or from communication directly for your CSM. But again, there's a few great new updates, so we want to get you on the latest and greatest. So make sure you check that out and ask any questions about the new version. Everything that Lucie's going to be showing us is within the new version. So if you see something that you've never seen before, it might be a new feature.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So let's jump into it. So let's imagine we have this, as I mentioned, fictionary music app, Countify. We are collecting data from it about the users that are creating their accounts and choosing their favorite content and so on. So the first thing as a product manager you would like to definitely do is to get to know your individual users. So we are going to be talking about user profiles and properties. You can see an example here on the screenshot. And let us actually jump into the UI itself. So for some of the examples and cases, I would use the Countify dashboard. So here is a user, Ginger Butts, with all sort of data that we have been collecting from his account. And so you can see many details here. So I will just point out a couple of the most important ones. And the first thing is the way we are actually identifying this user or users in general. So for this example, we are actually using the identified based approach. So since the user has already his account with the credentials, we are able to use this as a unique identifier. And no matter which device the user uses, or basically device the user uses, we are able to merge or collect all those data into a single account. So you can see all sort of information about what is his age, what kind of device he uses, what is the operation system he's on, what kind of app version he's on, and so on. And to make this profile even more personalized, let's say, we have also information about his, let's say, taste in the application. So we can see that he participated in the fitness 30 days challenge. He connected 2 devices to his account. he is interested in the beauty and sleep, let's say, genres. And in the history, he tried premium individual plan, but then he upgraded to the premium family plan. And he also created 15 playlists. So as you can see, there is already lots of valuable information about that particular user. And we can leverage all those informations also to build more like high-level metrics and analytics and to take some actions, which we will see in the following examples. If we just have a look on the right side of the screen, we can see the timeline with all the sessions and events that he actually triggered or created. So we are basically getting an information about his behavior. On the bottom side, there is a list of the sessions. So we can, for example, see that can check the events for a particular session. So in this case, he actually navigated to a content, and we might ask what was the place where we navigated from. So it was from the homepage. Then he actually played some podcast, some educational podcast. And again, he played some rock music. So this is a sequence of behavioral steps that he made, and we have a very nice track of the actions that the user actually took. And we can have a look into this in this user profile section. On the top part, you can also see some information about that user related to some other features of Countly, like feedback, performance, A/B testing, etc. So I will also look into one of those later on. Getting back to our presentation, let's go on into some more like different look into our data, more like high level. This was an individual user profile. And now we might actually ask ourselves, how does a certain engagement campaign affects the conversion, meaning like upgrading the plans that we are having from free to paid. So this is a UI for our drill, which is a very powerful tool which allows you to basically filter throughout your data, and you have all the data that you have been collecting available there. And we are building a query based on a single event, an event that we have been collecting from the devices, and it's called upgrade account. So you can see it here. And together with that event, we are also keeping track of detailed information, like from which plan the user is upgrading and to which plan. So here you can see that we are upgrading from free plan into either premium family or premium individual. And as I said, we are actually interested into how a certain engagement campaign, and in our case, it's again the 30-day challenge, is correlating with the conversion or with the upgrade from the free plan to the paid one. So that's why we are using this breakdown. And once we execute the query, this is what we get. So here you can see a bar chart with basically the information of how this correlation, or whether there is any correlation between this 30-day challenge and the upgrade. And we can see for this case that actually the most of the users that upgraded were not part of that challenge. But if we want to see, like, for example, which challenge was more successful in this, we see that it's the fitness one compared to the focus one. So again, a very valuable information in terms of where do we want to put our effort in terms of repeating those challenges if our goal is basically upgrading the users from free to paid plan. And in terms of the visualization that you see here, it's of course not the only one, or not the only visualization that you can use for your data. We can actually try different ones there is this bar chart you see, but there might be a time series, stacked bar chart, or pie chart. I will also show a dashboard at the very end of the session, so you will get more ideas on how you can visualize the data that you are actually exploring. So this was looking into drill and building a query on top of our data. And another very common topic when it comes to product management and getting to know your users is something we can call power users. And obviously we can define that group of users in very different ways. And to explore those, we would use cohorts, another Countly feature. So on the screenshot, you can actually see one of our cohorts where the power users are defined this way. So these are the users who actually played podcast at least 3 times in the last 30 days. And they also played some sort of music at least 3 times in the last 30 days. As I said, these conditions may be very different, and you have all the data that you have been collecting available here to configure. And I will also show you how to create a different sort of cohort. But this is an example that we are having now. And the 2 graphs you see on the lower part of the page. So on the left side, you can actually see the up-to-date number of your power users. In our case, it's 94. And since the cohorts are computed real time, this number is really up to date. And you can also see the cohort history. So from the time that you have created your cohort, you can see how the number of your power users is evolving over time. In our case, is good news because we are actually getting more and more power users. And on the right side, you can see also like for each and every day of the period that we are checking, which is the last 30 days, we can see number of users that entered the cohort and that exited the cohort. So you can also see how the positive and negative numbers are actually changing over time. So let's say we are going to be interested in the paid power users. So we are still focused on the users that played podcast and some music in the last 30 days. But we want to just check the users that are paid. So let me jump or switch into the UI again. And I would go to the cohort section, and I would simply, since I'm going to do a small change, basically, based on this group, I would just duplicate this already existing cohort. And I would rename it into paid power users. Still the same condition, but users with paid plan who have at least 3 music and 3 podcast plays in the last 30 days. Here you can see our filters, or basically UI or drop downs, how to build your conditions. So the behavior segmentation still stays the same, but we would just add a condition that the plan of those users is either premium family and premium individuals. Those are the 2 paid plans that we are having in the application. So I'm adding this condition, and I can simply create that cohort. So now you can see that the cohort is here. It has, let's say, almost 190 users. And if I go to the detail of the cohort, I would see that the data is actually from the point where I created the cohort. So it's not computed retroactively. Plus, one thing which I can find on the bottom of the page is breakdown of those power users by specific metric. So by default, I see country here and I see device. So also valuable information from which country my paid power users are coming. And in this case, the majority the majority is coming from United States. But I might also want to have a look into their, let's say, taste. So I can add some more metrics, which will be shown here. So let's say genre of interests. And if I scroll down, here it is. So again, I'm getting some information about what the paid power users are interested in the most. And if I want to see those users with that particular interest, I can just list them out, and I would get their list. So here is pretty much screenshot of whatever I was saying. So we can jump through this. And getting into another topic, which is actually related to what I was saying just now, is that usually when we have a certain group of users, we don't want to just look into that group of users, but we want to also address it in a certain way. Meaning we might want to collect feedback from those users, or we might want to send them some relevant content through push notifications. So here is an example of a survey, which is actually targeting another cohort that we have created, which is called Getting Fit. So those are the users who are interested in this, in some fitness content or fitness music, workout music, and so on. And we want to ask those users how they are happy with the application and what can we improve. So this is like the final step of configuring that survey, where we are targeting that particular user group. And then the survey, okay, that's the end. And then the survey might, for example, look like this. How helpful is Countify towards helping you achieve your fitness goals? So a simple score from 0 to 10. And a next question, like an open question, is there anything we can do better? I would just point out in this part, this user consent collection. That is something that we have introduced in the latest release. So for those of you who are using our feedback widgets, this is something you might find in your dashboard already if you have upgraded. And overall, this is an example of a survey that is targeting a specific user group. And if you remember that original user profile I was showing, we might want to, for example, see how that particular user has interacted, or what kind of responses he gave us throughout this survey. So I might open again his profile, and here I can see that he actually answered that survey on Monday. And I can also see what kind of information or what kind of score he gave us. It was 9 out of 10, so pretty good. And he also gave us some suggestion to improve. He would like to configure some reminders through the application. So a very valuable feedback from a user which is actually into a specific topic, and he is using the application quite often. So moving forward into user journeys. Again, something very common as a product manager, so you want to build your funnels and explore how much the users are completing the funnels you are interested in. So for this example, we are actually looking into the scenario when user creates his account. They input their account details, and then usually in those music apps or TV apps or those sort of apps, you have this option to choose your interests in the very beginning, and then it gives you the personalized content. So we are measuring how much the users are actually first interacting at first with that personalized content. So you can see here on the left side the steps of the funnel. All of those are custom events that we are collecting. And you can see the conversions and drop-offs in each and every step. So out of all the users, almost 60% actually create or inputs the details of their account. And out of those 60%, you see the distribution of how many users actually fill in the interests. And at the very end, it's this number that shows us how many of those users actually interact with this content. So out of those 237, it's 175 that actually interacts with it. And again, you have an option to go and see the particular users. So for example, if the numbers were not that optimistic, you can go and see those users to find out what might be the problem, why they are not interacting with it, based on their individual behavior. And to configure the funnel, it's very simple. So just to give you a brief overview of that, you provide the funnel name and you provide a type of a funnel, because you might configure the funnel in two types: session independent, so you don't care whether the sequence of steps happens throughout one session, or you actually want the sequence of steps to be completed in the same sessions, which is our case. And then you define the steps of the funnels, choosing out of this, again, very similar menu to what we have in Drill, where you can go to the event section and choose, in this case, the second step of the funnel, which is like providing the interests of the user. And as a final example or step of this session, we have been through a couple of topics. So let's just look at those topics in one place in a single dashboard. So custom dashboard, again, a place where you can actually build your own dashboard and pull out the data that you are actually interested in. So I've prepared one here, so let me open it. And more or less, these are the things that I've been talking about throughout the session. So first you see the user profiles here. In this case, I'm having top 10 users who participated in the 30-day challenge. Our Ginger Bats is on top of this table. I also have top 10 users with paid plan, individual or family. So here is again the list of the users together with the countries where they're coming from, their interest, and so on. Then we talked about Drill and how the 30-day challenge actually correlates with the upgrade from free to paid plan. So here you can see the graph, the same graph that was in the presentation. And you can also see a different type of visualization for that graph. So I've used the pie chart here, basically the same data, but just visualized in a different form. Then we talked about the power users. So in our case, there was the users who played podcast and music at least 3 times in the last month. So here I can see again my cohort, how it's evolving over time. And I can also see, for example, sessions of those power users. So this is the line chart for that particular information. And since we have created also a different cohort of paid power users, let's just add them here. So I also give you an idea how to add a widget into that custom dashboard. So I open this menu, and here is a cohort section. I would find my Countify app. And let's go again for bar chart, and I select my paid power users cohort. Adding the widget. So here it is. Let me make it bigger. Okay, so I guess a different, maybe let's go for a number. It will be more understandable. So here is the number of my paid power users, 189. So like that, I can basically add all those widgets in the dashboard, play around with their size, play around with their position, and build a very nice and like visually appealing dashboard. And then the last part we have talked about was the users that interacted with the initial content based on their preferences. That was the funnel that we have created. So again, this is the funnel visualization. You might see different numbers here because after the screenshot, I've created some more data, so it played around a bit with that. I hope it's not too confusing, but basically the funnel is still the same. We provide account details, the user provides the interest, and then he first interacts with that content. And we see like how many users are actually getting into that final stage of the funnel. So those are the custom dashboards. Here on top, you can change the period of the custom dashboard, and you can also share it with some of your colleagues and so on. And as you can see here in the menu, you have pretty much all the features of Countly that you can bring in and use as part of the dashboard. So you have your like basic analytics data, drill data, cohorts, events, formula, etc. So these were the examples that we have prepared, and now we have a space to discuss all sort of questions or ideas you might got during the session. So I don't know, Sarah, are there any questions in the chat?
Yeah, I've got a few questions here. So one of them is, how does Countly actually determine power users?
So let me get back to the... Oh, you mean, okay. Okay, I got it now. So Countly is like tracking our own clients, I suppose,
Yeah,
right?
sorry.
Okay.
I think that's the
question. Yeah. So obviously we have, there's all sort of approaches to that, but we are, for example, interested in the users that have had certain number of sessions over time. So let's say 1,000 sessions, or users that have at least like 10 sessions in the last week. So that's why how we kind of look into users from the high level perspective, just the number of sessions. But then we can look into users or like power users of a specific feature. So the users that are using cohorts or that are like heavily using some of our features. And related to that, for instance, we are also now going to be collecting data about drill as such. because we want to improve the performance of drill. So we are going to be actually collecting the data about how long the queries take and how long does it take for the user to get the results. So we are going to be using that data as well, yeah, to improve drill as such.
Awesome. Another question that came in was, how do you track anonymous users before they create an account?
Okay, so for that one, I might actually share the screen again. So yeah, let's check again this account. So there was this email that identifies the user. In case the user doesn't have an account and there is no identification method, we basically use the device ID or like randomly generated ID that we store in the local storage of the browser. And that's going to be the identifier for that particular device or, let's say, browser. But as you can maybe hear, I'm careful about the words. It's actually not identifying the user as such, because as soon as the user changes the device or opens another window, another browser, that ID would be different. But pretty much the anonymous tracking is based on those information. And as soon as there is a chance to use some really unique identifier, we can merge those data together and use that one.
Got it. One other question came in, I think more related to how Countly is using Countly. So as a product manager, what else are you looking at, and maybe what have we learned using Countly ourselves?
Yeah, so basically, I already mentioned those examples with, for example, tracking drill and improving it based on the data that we are going to collect. But I can also mention an example, for example, for Countify Flex, which is another product where we actually are interested in when a user creates an account, whether they actually create a server on that account. So we are measuring, we are having that funnel, seeing like how much the users are actually getting from creating an account into creating a server and then actually starting to use the dashboard. So that's something we also collect. And based on that, we are also trying to improve our onboarding strategy, let's say, to make it as easy as possible for the users to really start using the product once they create the account. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Those are the questions that I see at the moment. But if anybody does have any others, you can always reach out to your customer success manager, and they'll also get the recording of this webinar to be able to review and follow up from there. Lucie, anything else?
So maybe just since we have a couple more minutes, like if there is anything that pops up in your mind right now, just feel free to ask that question since we have the space. So I will just leave like a couple of moments for that. If there is anything. And I guess if not, or if if it pops up later on, as Sarah said, feel free to reach out to our colleagues or to send us to fill in the form we have on our website. And thank you everyone for joining. I hope it was helpful for you. I hope you got something that you can take and use for your team and your product. And I wish you a nice rest of the day.